Welcome everyone to the Global Tech Advocates Tech for Net Zero London Tech Week Showcase. My name is Russ Shaw and I'm the founder of Global Tech Advocates and Tech London Advocates. And alongside Informa and London Partners, Tech London Advocates is a founding partner of London Tech Week. In our 8th year, I am absolutely delighted to introduce one of the anchor events for this year's festival. Now, we had a great launch event this morning with the Secretary of State for Business, Kwasi Kwarteng, showing his support for London Tech alongside the founders of Klarna and Depop. Now, throughout the course of the next 5 days, there will be fascinating events focused on climate, women in tech, health tech, the future of work, and so much more this week. Global Tech Advocates and Tech London Advocates will, as ever, be at the heart of the action. You know us by now. Now, we have major events being run by working groups here in London, with TLA Tech for Disability having an event tomorrow. Both the TLA Taiwan and TLA China groups are hosting events on Wednesday. TLA Black Women in Tech is on Thursday, and then TLA Prop Tech is on Friday. Also on Thursday, we are launching the TLA Young Entrepreneurs Working Group. And this is a very exciting new network for 18 to 30-year-old tech stars of the future. And it's actually being run by a 15-year-old award-winning coder who joined us in China a couple of years ago at our Global Tech Advocates Summit. So that one is not to be missed. We're also launching a number of new GTA networks and GTA working groups, and more on that a little bit later. So over the next 90 minutes, we're going to be conducting a whistle-stop tour of the world, touching base with the fastest growing tech regions and cities around the globe. And as of today, we now have 22 Global Tech Advocates networks, and many of them are actually represented here today. It's either late at night in Asia, it's early morning on the West Coast of America, but many have showed up to be part of this event, and I'm very grateful for that. So we're going to have deep dives on tech hubs in Asia and Australia, then the Americas, then Europe, and then we're going to finish up here in the UK. Now, earlier in the year, GTA launched its Tech for Net Zero campaign. We set out to promote the tech startups around the world driving innovations designed to combat climate change. And we wanted to mobilize our advocates community to commit to greater action to reach net zero. We have our Tech for Net Zero resource hub on the GTA website. There's also a startup showcase for outstanding tech companies, and we have a list of climate commitments that we're asking leaders to sign up to. So today we want to focus on Tech for Net Zero and understand what's happening in tech cities and regions around the world. Now, before we begin, I also want to say that we're at Here East, which is the Tech and Innovation Campus in the Olympic Park in East London, and my thanks to the team at Here East for hosting us today. Now, I'm absolutely delighted. I want to introduce the founder and CEO of Globalization Partners, Nicole Sahin. Globalization Partners became a strategic partner of Tech London Advocates this year, and it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know the team and the business. Using artificial intelligence, Globalization Partners is an employment platform that allows businesses to find and employ talent anywhere around the world. So currently based in California, up very early this morning, I would like to welcome Nicole Sahin. Nicole, over to you.
Thank you, Russ, and thank you so much for hosting this. I'm particularly passionate about this topic of climate change and excited to be here. So welcome everyone to London Tech Week's Tech for Net Zero. I'm Nicole Sahin, the CEO and founder of Globalization Partners. There has never been a mission more important that the entire world comes together for than our current endeavor to minimize climate change. And yet, throughout the last century, people via technology and science have joined together for unbelievable accomplishments, from almost eradicating polio to significantly reducing the percentage of people living in poverty. Climate change is the greatest task of our generation, and we are up to the challenge. We're here united to celebrate and to inspire the brightest minds from all over the globe as we collaborate and come together towards one common goal: saving our planet. I'm the CEO and founder of a global technology company myself. At Globalization Partners, our mission is to democratize equal access to opportunity for everyone, everywhere. Our business makes it fast and easy for companies to hire anyone, anywhere within minutes without setting up costly subsidiaries via an AI-powered global employment platform and talent sourcing platform. Essentially, our customers find great talent all over the world, and we employ them in their home communities. In the traditional way of business, companies had to set up their own complex legal infrastructure in each country before they could run payroll. It was unbelievably time-consuming and complicated and expensive. By using our platform instead, which is at the forefront of the future of work, companies can quickly and easily hire anyone anywhere without the hurdles. And that enables companies to honor the local rights of employees wherever they are. And it enables those employees, again, to work from their home communities. And you might ask, how does that contribute to climate change? When an employee is working from home and has access to a good job in the digital formal economy from home, they reduce their commute. So that's the first thing. And instead of driving an hour each way to and from work every day, they can walk to their home offices or roll out of bed and they flip on their computers. We also have incredible conferences like this one virtually, and we can meet extraordinary people all over the world instead of flying in from all over the globe. Besides reducing the consumption of gasoline and the use of planes, trains, and automobiles, it reduces our stress. Work from home also encourages people to grow and make their own food at home and reduces reliance on plastic. When people can access good jobs at home, they spend their dollars locally, which feeds their local economies and small businesses nearby in their communities. Local stores are much less reliant on the complex and carbon-creating global supply chains. It's so much healthier than big box stores, not only for families and communities, but also, of course, for the environment. And that also allows us to contribute to the unique local vibes of our home communities. We don't want to live in a world where every city looks the same. And so when people can work from their home communities, we retain the beautiful essence of the kaleidoscope of culture that comes from the creativity of local businesses flourishing in their home communities. It has a ripple effect. When people can access good jobs in rural or remote areas, they often create jobs and mentorship opportunities for other people locally. And of course, all of that contributes to a net positive impact on the environment. I'll give you an example. One of our customers is a clean fuel cell technology company that licenses technology to Samsung and other battery makers. And they were hiring a brilliant technologist last year. The employee was educated in the US, went home to India for a brief stint during the holidays, and was planning to return to the US to work over the summer. During the early part of the pandemic, the US and many other countries shut down its borders. And the employee was so critical to the company's mission that getting him on board as quickly as possible was critical to their success, but they couldn't transport him to HQ as planned because his visa just got kind of caught up in the craziness of COVID. The company and the employee decided to employ him instead in India via Globalization Partners. The company needed us to provide the locally compliant employment contract and actually employ him because as a US headquartered company without a subsidiary in India, they couldn't get him on board their payroll in India otherwise. In any case, the employee was able to start working for the company from his home in Kerala. So the employee was incredibly effective at his job, despite the shifted hours, and indeed was critical to the company. And yet something else happened too. The employee was happy and so happy to be able to be home with his family during a trying time. They needed him, and he was able to support his family during a period when much of India was shut and much of that part of India was shut down due to COVID, and they did this major lockdown. During that time, indeed, many of his neighbors lost their jobs. Yet this employee was able to steadily work, and he held down the fort, not only for the clean fuel cell technology company, but also for his family and friends who needed him and who lost income and went through an incredibly stressful time. Indeed, he was one of the heroes, like many of those dialed in today, who have dedicated their lives to working on climate stability in spite of the huge challenges that we're all facing in our personal lives and as a global society. That employee is still working from home and quite happy, and the company's happy too, because they have the talent that they need. It turns out that they didn't need to move him away from his family, his friends, and his community in order for him to work. So we are thrilled to be part of helping other clean technology companies. We work with customers including vegan meat replacements that work on the desalinization of ocean water and clean fuel technology. We're thrilled to be being a part of what our customers do, and it's a pleasure to be here today. So I'd like to raise a toast virtually to celebrate and honor what's happening in every corner of the globe, thanks to you. So here's to you and everyone everywhere that's working towards a better future towards us all.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for that lovely introduction and for your kind words, and delighted to have you as part of our session today. Okay, everybody, are we ready? We're going to start traveling the globe. So to start our world tour, we're going to head east. And for this first session, we want to welcome our GTA panel leaders from Australia, Japan, Korea, China, Singapore, and India. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to rapid fire go through this. I'm going to ask each panelist to speak for about 2 minutes to give us a whistle-stop tour of Tech for Net Zero in their tech ecosystem. And I'm going to go very far away and start in Australia and welcome Michael Jacobson, who is leading our new Tech Australia Advocates Group. So Michael, over to you. You've got some news to share.
Greetings, Russ, and greetings, everyone. Thank you for asking me to join today. Today, of course, is the official launch of Tech Australia Advocates, of which I'm the chairman. I'm proud to have been a long-time advocate at Tech London Advocates in London, where I also have a base. I think it's worth saying that today, specifically with regards to the subject of Tech for Net Zero and climate change, today is, in general terms, there's never been more important time to launch TAA, and the timing is very significant. A quick overview of Australia, which leads up to that. Australia's major trading partners are an eclectic group. You've got China, Japan, Korea, Singapore, India, as well as the EU, the UK, and the USA. And geopolitically, Australia is obviously very tied with a recent announcement of AUKUS to the USA and the UK, as well as to New Zealand and Canada. So again, a very eclectic bunch. But Australia is a service economy. However, its major export historically has been resources and mining output. So why that's significant is, firstly, Australia was the only G20 economy, I believe, that didn't have a recession post-GFC. In fact, it took Corona to give Australia a recession. However, that's somewhat of an aberration because it was Australia's energy and resources exports that caused that. So Australia doesn't have the most proud record of climate change. Obviously, the economy is very dominated by fossil fuel and mining organizations. Now, on the flip side, the tech ecosystem has had significant government support for around the last 5 or 6 years. And furthermore, there are obviously some notable unicorns globally, such as Atlassian, which is a big climate change action supporter, and of course, Afterpay and Canva. Australia does have a national digital economy and born digital strategy, and is a global leader in areas such as machine learning and AI. However, again, the subject of climate change and Tech for Net Zero is one which is going to have to be very much embedded societally and economically within the tech ecosystem, and moreover within the broader ecosystem. So we at TAA, of course, will be placing this very highly on the agenda, and with regards to this subject and all subjects, of course, working closely with government and with other players in the ecosystem. Australia does have a Tech Council of Australia, which is chaired by Tesla chair, Robin Denham, but TAA will really seek to put climate change, to put Tech for Net Zero at the very top table, the top of the agenda, and just part of our broader mission while we're here, provide a global bridge to and from Australia, courtesy of GTA and the broader community, for Australian tech businesses and other businesses seeking to do business and partner with tech businesses in Australia. So it's fantastic to launch. It's fantastic to be formal part of the community, and great to be here today.
That's great, Michael. Thank you very much. Glad that you're now up and running. It's been a little while in coming, and you're now our 22nd group in Global Tech Advocates. So welcome, and
you.
you're welcome to drop off and head to bed, as I know it's after midnight there. Right, next up, I'd like to introduce Skip Riddle, who is one of the co-leads of Tech Japan Advocates alongside Tadashi Tamura. So Skip, over to you.
Well, good day, Michael, and konnichiwa to everyone at Global Tech Advocates. Yes, it's very late in Japan, but I happen to be in London at the moment, and so I have no excuses. Tech Japan Advocates was launched in 2019 with extraordinary help and support from Russ and Global Tech Advocates, together with the British DIT, as well as JETRO, the trade group representing Japan internationally, and also our founder members, including Toyota and Panasonic and Deloitte and others. We set out to help to connect the Japanese innovators and those involved with the innovation community there internationally. And we feel that the Global Tech Advocates is a wonderful platform for being able to accomplish that kind of cooperation. Initially, most of the demand was around fintech for obvious reasons, particularly between Japan and the UK and the extraordinary activity from the UK in terms of fintech. But Japan, of course, has traditionally been an energy importer. And as a result of which, there's a great deal of innovation going into Japan, and also attracting innovation from other countries which can be applied there. Of course, the Japanese decision-making happens slowly. They need to see that these things are working in other countries before they're adopted there. But so far, we're working with a number of innovators there, including an organization that has been developing a distributed grid so that local communities can actually trade in energy among themselves. In addition to that, more recently, working with an Osaka group and the United States in terms of a technology out of the US that can help facilitate the reprocessing of bamboo, which it can also apply across many countries in Asia. In transportation, multimodal transportation, which can help reduce emissions, working closely with Mitsui and other partners, and in electronic vehicles, of course, in Japan, led by Toyota, the significant movement towards hydrogen in terms of public transport. We are delighted to be part of this, and we look forward to the collaborations that can help us all improve our climate conditions going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Skip. Great to see you, and pass on our best to Tamura-san. Right, next up, we're moving from Tech Japan Advocates to Tech Korea Advocates, and I'd like to introduce the co-lead of this group, which will be soft launching before the end of the year, and that's Philip Sung, who is co-hosting Tech Korea Advocates with Jin Kim. Philip, over to you.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, okay, good. Hi guys, my name is Philip. I'm the director of Bridge International Group, which leads Tech Korea Advocates. And as Russ said, we are planning to do a soft launch in December and then do a bit more formal launch next year towards the beginning of the year. I think we've got, for South Korea, we've got three things that we can talk about. So, how we can actually help out the, Tech for Net Zero project as a country. South Korea, I would say first it will be the startup ecosystem, and then the strong government programs, and also the multinationals. So I'll be talking very briefly about these three. So South Korea is a very strong startup ecosystem. I mean, not to mention all these, the high-tech multinationals that we all know, the Samsung, the LG and all that. But there's so many startup companies which have shown some really big exits recently, like involving multi-billion dollars, acquirements from the US, Germany, and so on. And one of the biggest one was the e-commerce company called Coupang. It's like an Amazon equivalent, and they debuted in the New York Stock Exchange, delivering like the biggest US initial public offering since Uber. power, giving a staggering 84 billion value. And I think overall, these kind of strong ecosystem was possible because first, I think we have a good workforce. So with top universities, a lot of the workforce trained at degrees level up above. We've got the multinational manufacturing companies like the Samsung, the Hyundais, and we've got globally, advanced IT. And finally, I think the government is really enthusiastically supportive. And that leads to my second point, which is there are loads of government agencies try to support it, but the Ministry of Environment, they actually set up an agency dedicated to developing environmental technologies. It's called the KEITI, which is like it stands for Korea Environmental Industry and Technology Institute, and they're running various eco-business supports programs, and one of them are called Eco Startup Project. And it helps like these prospective entrepreneurs, startups, and providing financial packages like from 40 to 80K US dollars. And then we move on to the multinationals, the Samsungs, the Hyundais, and they're actually increasing their investment into green tech startup companies, because they're now actively adapting their governance to a more ESG approach, so environmental, social, and corporate governance approach. They're actually looking for these impact investment opportunities. And there are a lot of startup companies which are actually being fetched up by them. I think there's a lot of stuff going on there. And although I haven't got enough time to talk all about it, but from what I said, I think South Korea is very unique in a way that it has a very strong infrastructure in terms of government, corporate, manufacturing, and startup ecosystem. And also Korea is positioned, like geographically positioned right between the major nations like China and Japan. But we have a smaller population, but a very high tech savvy population. So it means that Korea can be a first place for, non-Asian companies can start for, testing out, all these kind of the green technologies, if they want to, test out these Asian markets. So, thanks to our environment in South Korea, we're in a very strong position to make great contribution to the global project of tech for net zero. And I'm make sure the Tech Korea Advocate are here to bridge that gap. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Philip. Great to have you with us. Really looking forward to Tech Korea Advocates formally getting started later this year. Great to have you with us. Right, next stop, we're going to move from Korea to China. And I'd like to introduce Kelly Chen, who co-leads the Tech China Advocates Group along with John Zai. That currently includes groups in Shanghai and in Shenzhen, and I know more are to come. So Kelly, welcome.
Thank you, Russ. So firstly, I would like to apologize for John. He currently is in China, and then he tried very best for him to get on Zoom, but due to technical issue, he won't be able to join us today. A very sad thing, but I'm still on behalf of Tech China Advocates and would like to introduce to all of the audience and then to other leads what China is doing on the tech net zero. For all of you guys know that China do have a very high tech carbon dioxide emissions due to the economic development. Since 2020, our President Xi Jinping already announced that for China, we need to reach the peak of the carbon dioxide in 2030 and then to reach carbon neutral by 2060. It is a very important thing in China. And then over the last few years, due to the whole world economy discussing on net zero carbon emissions, this has become a very hot topic in China as well. All of the technology companies would like to introduce new technology and trying to reduce the carbon dioxide through the manufacturing or like by introducing new technology, new product to reduce all the carbon dioxide emissions. And then in the latest 5-year plan in China, currently is the 14th, it is the most important policy in the whole development plans. And then for the government is encouraging all the provinces to setting up their carbon dioxide emissions and what is their plan for reducing this. by using Shanghai and Shenzhen as example, because we have two advocates there. For Shanghai, it is a very important thing to bring the step ahead for the whole China, because it is a very good city in China. They have a very good international relationship with the latest technology happens in Shanghai. In Shanghai, they're announcing that they would like to bring the 14th five-year plan ahead for another 5 years, so that they would like to reach a milestone in 2025. Also, that they are going to set up field world-class economic island carbon neutral demonstration zone. So within those, they're doing all carbon neutral stuff, or like they're bringing low emissions car, or like for the manufacturer, or like for the people who are working there, it will be all going digitalized to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions. And then they are going to set up field carbon emission trading market as well to not only in Shanghai, also in Guangzhou, Chongqing, and Ningbo, some of the key cities in Jiangsu province. Also, some of the new things in Shenzhen, Shenzhen is going to has incorporated with carbon peaking and carbon neutral into the urban development layout. Taking the public transport as an example, most of the public transport in Shenzhen is already on electronic vehicle with zero emissions. So it is a very one step ahead in Shenzhen. Also, for Tech China Advocate and some people who operate Tech China Advocate, we're working very hard with Greater Bay Area governments to digitalizing the whole smart city system there. And then we collaborate with Dassault System, a French Fortune 500 company, to helping to rebuild the smart city system in the Greater Bay Area, and then to reduce the carbon dioxide, to help the Greater Bay Area government to reach the central government target as well. So in China, we're thinking that for bringing the carbon emissions low and then to meet net zero is the most important thing for the next 10 years. And then all of the technology developments or all the technology will be going to help this done. And we're thinking that all the technology company and technology should be able to get the 230 and 260 target done. So this is what we're going to do now.
Sounds very good, Kelly. Thank you for that overview. And hopefully we'll learn more next year. As some of you know, we're planning a Global Tech Advocate Summit to go back to China in 2022. We were there in 2019, and we would like to bring the Tech for Net Zero theme into China. So we'd hope to do that in October, but as some of you know, it's very difficult to travel at the moment into China. So we're going to keep a watching eye on that and hopefully get that event organized next year with Kelly, John, and the team from Tech China Advocates and Cincy Group. So thank you for that, Kelly. Right, let's keep going through Asia. It'd be great to bring up Sean Hun, who is the co-lead of Tech Singapore Advocates, along with Leslie Sarma. Sean, it's great to have you with us. Again, I know it's very late where you are, so thank you for staying up so late. Over to you.
Everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So it's really good to be here, and it really warms my heart to see so many friends, peers, and colleagues all around the world here. My name's Sean, and I'm the president of Tech Singapore Advocate. I'll give everyone a really quick overview of some of the technological trends in Singapore and also in the region. So last year, we talked a little bit about how Singapore and London have a lot in common. They're both global hubs and a launchpad to a wider region for many entrepreneurs and also organizations. Singapore is one of the most ideal bases to springboard into Southeast Asia. And last year, we also talked about how 2020 has been the digital accelerant of the decade. Today, where we stand, Singapore's technology landscape is at a pivot point. Questions used to arise on whether Singapore is a good market for startups to be in, given that it's pretty small geographically, but that's now all changing really quickly. So from a startup perspective, we're starting to see really strong exits in the region. We have our largest unicorn, Grab, looking at a $40 billion SPAC listing in NASDAQ. We have Gojek and Tokopedia, which are both unicorns in the region, merged at an estimated $18 billion valuation. And we're seeing a lot more of these listings, acquisition, mergers, SPACs planned for Southeast Asia. So what does that mean? So with stronger exit, that certainly attracts more talent to solve one of the largest problems globally, which is decarbonization. And as a region, that's where we're seeing an increased focus across the board. And for example, Temasek, the Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, and BlackRock, the Global Private Equity Fund, have come together to commit 600 million for investments into decarbonization, and that's set up in Singapore. The Maritime Port Authority has launched the Global Center of Maritime Decarbonization, which is a $120 million center with 6 of some of the largest maritime conglomerates like BW Group, BHP, Eastern Pacific Shipping, and many more to decarbonize our supply chain. Further, we're seeing funds and investors like Reef Knot, Plug and Play, and Motion Ventures that are increasingly looking at deploying more and more capital into solutions that help decarbonize the planet. Ultimately, we're really committed to building a world where individuals across geographical regions and countries can collaborate through the GTA network to build a more resilient future for net zero. Maybe that's in my short update on my side. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sean. Very, very brief, but to the point, and obviously a lot going on in the Singapore tech ecosystem. So thank you. Right, before we leave the Asia region, I'd like to introduce Af Malhotra, who's one of the co-leads of Tech India Advocates, along with Annie Caprica and Nilesh Gopali. So Af, over to you. Tell us about Tech for Net Zero in India and what's happening there.
Thank you very much, Russ, and pleasure to be on this fantastic platform. We all believe timing is everything, and I think the green tech agenda for India is without question one of its biggest strengths. We believe in the future, as it's for the UK. And a few things I just want to share with you, and 2 very important points if the rest is forgotten. The first thing is India, and why it cares about energy is because it's the 4th largest consumer of energy behind China, the US, and the EU. Apparently, by 2030, India is going to outpace the EU. So energy matters to the 1.3 billion Indians right now, which is one of the reasons why they're investing heavily in transforming that space with new tech and the startup generation that we know of. The second part is agriculture. Often gets missed off the list. Agriculture is a very important sector for India because it contributes roughly 17% to GDP and, believe it or not, employs 60% of the population. And these 2 sectors are the underbelly of any form of energy transformation, which is why we're so excited about India, of course. And we, as a group, have sort of resurrected, as you know, over the last few years, from Tech London Advocates India to now TIA, Tech India Advocates. And there are 3 things we're going to be doing this year and next year that we feel very excited about. The first one is about giving visibility to some of the coolest outlier startups born out of India, green tech startups, clean tech startups out of India. And we're going to do this with the other GTA groups as well, and more on that later. The second area is kicking off a TIA launch event, the Tech India Advocates launch event. Believe it or not, we haven't launched it yet. We were due to, but unfortunately, India went through a rough patch with COVID, and so due to that and sensitivity there, we postponed the event. It's going to happen in the first week or so of November, in time with COP26, and it's going to be about all things green tech. So we had already planned this many months back. Now we're relaunching it, so we're very excited about that. Please attend that. The third area is, we believe that going into 2022, nations like the G20 and all of the representative GTA groups need to come together to tackle the net zero problem. It is far from a nation's reach. We all have to come together. So we want to create this sort of global platform where every other GTA group on this session, and I called them out now today, and I'm so excited to hear about what's happening in other countries. We'd like to come together in 2022 and work on the green tech agenda where we're sharing and cross-pollinating ideas and ecosystems so we can win together. And the UK could be absolutely the central point. So that's the third wing of what we're going to do. I'll close off by just giving you a couple of other really interesting points, which is quite fascinating. So a lot of people always ask us, so what's going on in India with the startup ecosystem? So there are about 650 or so startups in the green tech, clean tech space in India. And this is the growth enabler data, because it's very hard to get data on the number of startups, green tech startups in India. And roughly $3.5 billion dollars of venture money has gone into these startups. It's pretty sizable stuff. What is exciting is that 65% of these companies are early stage startups, emerging, as we call them. So pre-Series A seed round. 25% are scaling, and the rest, about 10%, are mature. So there's a massive funnel of innovation coming out of India right now that has investment needs, resource need, talent need, and so on. And I think we are very excited about this agenda for these reasons outlined, Russ. So thank you for giving us this airtime and opportunity. I'm really excited about the next 12 to 24 months.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. And it's great to see you. And as the audience may or may not know, we all met up about a week and a half ago. You, Annie, myself, and co-hosted a UK-India Tech Roundtable with the Secretary of State for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. So really nice to see the ties building between India and the UK. So thank you. And to all of our colleagues in Asia and Australia, thank you so much for your support of today's event. Now we're going to travel across the Pacific and go towards the Americas. Really building on the success of our investor showcase, which we held at the end of June, focused on tech for net zero. That event focused largely on the UK and Europe, and we had many great speakers and some people on this call who participated in that event. I am working with the Global Tech Advocates leaders in the Americas under Lanny Medina, who is one of the co-leads of Tech Bay Area Advocates, to organize a Tech for Net Zero event later in October, just before the COP26 conference kicks off. So you will hear more about that from us, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. So let's get started. We've got a few of our leaders here from the Americas. So first, we're going to kick off with KC Gundiam, who leads Tech Canada Advocates. Hello, KC.
Hi, Russ. And it's a pleasure to be amongst friends, colleagues, and the audience to talk about such an important topic. So as Russ said, I'm the lead of Tech Canada Advocates, TCA, located in Toronto. So although TCA has been in operation for a couple of years, our official launch was halted by the pandemic, and we're counting to officially launch very, very soon. And I'm counting to have it both in London and potentially in Canada as well. So Russ, stay tuned. So I'd like to go in details about the number of opportunities for Canada, Canadian companies, the global network of tech companies. My colleague for Tech India Advocates talked on it. I don't think this is something that we can do on our own. This is something we need to tackle as a global network. And Canada has made ambitious promises to improving and sustaining the global climate in keeping with the signature of the Paris Accord in 2015. The target set within the country is to exceed 2030 emission targets and achieve net zero by 2050. Quite ambitious. The Government of Canada proposed a Canadian Net Zero Emissions Accountability Act on clean growth and climate change that will formalize Canada's 2050 target. As you can see, governments are involved. It's a massive ecosystem with government, multinational, and startups. The Canada has a net zero accelerator initiative that supports its goals to help transform the economy towards clean technology and long-term growth. The initiative will provide up to $8 billion in support of projects that will enable Canada to reduce its domestic greenhouse gas emission. Canada's industrial base is heavily reliant on fossil fuels for the bulk of its energy. So cutting down emissions will be particularly difficult for carbon-heavy sectors such as oil and gas, cement, steel, freight, aviation, and chemical manufacturing. However, Canada aims to support the green transformation of key industrial sectors such as automotive, aerospace, agriculture, agri-food, and take advantage of the global shift in demand for innovative net zero technologies. So I could go in details, with the oil and gas industry and what they're doing, and transportation, what they're doing, aviation, what they're doing, and clean technology, what they're doing. It's important also to stress that our strategic engagement with the US, our leading trading partner, will be critical to achieving net zero. Key opportunities include clean electricity as well, with the electric vehicles. So it is clear that Canada is dedicated to this initiative, and TCA will work closely with all stakeholders, including the global network, to be part of net zero.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Casey, and looking forward to your formal launch both in Canada and here in the UK. Great to have you. Right, traveling from North America down to South America, we're going to go to Colombia, and I'm delighted to introduce Jerónimo Silva, who is the lead of Tech Bogota Advocates. Jerónimo, over to you.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And greetings all. I'm very happy to be here and representing Tech Bogota Advocates. It's a great pleasure. As you might know, Bogota is a city of 10 million people. And with that growth, many social, economic, and environmental problems have come. In the environmental space, we believe perhaps the two main issues that we face as a city today are solid waste management and air pollution. With so many people, so many vehicles, so many things happening, those have become serious issues that we face as a society and as a city. So from Tech Bogota Advocates, we have decided to take a stand, and we have decided to frame that conversation around smart cities. And what can smart cities do to help solve those environmental issues as well as others? So with that frame, we have taken a few actions. In particular, we are accelerating startups that are able to produce tech-based solutions that either directly or indirectly can solve those type of issues. Actually, we have accelerated a few and invested in two of them that are showcased in the Tech for Net Zero Resource Hub hosted by GTA. So I invite everybody to take a look at that resource hub. There you can find our startups and many more. But that is a concrete action that we have taken towards trying to put together solutions that, like I said, via direct or directly can solve environmental issues. We are also, with many players from the local ecosystem, we're taking part in a pilot that is trying, or not trying, but it's gathering data from freight trucks and cargo. We're trying to make sense of the information that those trucks are providing going in and out of Bogota. And we're trying to put forth a solution that makes the logistics of the cargo coming in and out of the city more efficient. Again, that's a way of making sense from an economic point of view. So we're trying to make sense of the data. And indirectly, we're trying to reduce the carbon footprint of that cargo coming in and out. So that's another very concrete action that we're taking. And lastly, I'd like to point out that, like I said, environment and the environmental issues that have risen with time and with population growth are very much in the eye of the public sector here in the city of Bogota. And therefore, the city government has put in place many incentives for startups and open innovation to come together through platforms to try to source solutions from the public at large. And this is being done not only from a Bogota point of view, but there are other cities in Latin America that are collaborating in this endeavor, specifically the city of Santiago, the city of Lima, the city of Quito, and of course, Bogota, with help from the Inter-American Development Bank. So that's a collaborative platform where we try to source solutions that in that particular case are trying to solve solid waste management that, as you know, is a source of pollution quite large in these very big cities. So environment is at center stage. We from Tech Bogota Advocates are playing our role. We frame the conversation around smart cities and technology. We have the ability to accelerate, to invest, and to collaborate, and of course, to source technology and to source solutions from this great network that Russ has put together. So very happy to be here, Russ. Very happy to explain what we very briefly are doing in Bogota. And I invite all just to learn more, visit our website, visit our social media, and just be in touch if you would like to learn more from what we do here in Bogota. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Geronimo. That's really helpful and great to see you so active in the Tech for Net Zero space. Okay, we're going to leave Bogota and we're going to go to California for our last two speakers of the Americas. So next up, I want to go to Ed Grenville, who, along with Lanny, is a key part of our Tech Bay Area Advocates Group in California. So Ed, over to you.
Thank you, Russ, and it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting us to contribute to the global panel on such a vital topic. The Tech Bay Area Advocates was founded in 2017, and we've been very active. As you mentioned, I co-lead the Tech Bay Area Advocates with Lanny Medina, who's listening in and wishes everyone well. Tech Bay Area Advocates has a great personal affection for me since I was at their opening event and I actually met the partner in my law firm there. So that's a testament to the kind of connections that Tech Bay Area advocates can bring locally, but also on a topic like this globally. TBAA is obviously in a very dynamic tech area, and we believe that the area should be able to contribute a lot to the resolution of some of these climate problems. As you mentioned earlier, we will be hosting an event in October on clean tech. More details will follow, but just to give you a sampling of what's coming, Carlos Monroy, founder of BioMyTech Mexico, will participate. Geronimo Silva of Tech Bogota Advocates will participate. Casey Gundian of Tech Canada Advocates will participate, and we'll be working with Russ and Lanny. So we look forward to bringing that presentation on this important topic to everyone. So the Bay Area is at the confluence of Silicon Valley and San Francisco. We have the topic of clean tech and a green economy is absolutely top in local and national politics, and it's very important to the companies that work in the Bay Area. So there's an enormous potential for Tech Bay Area advocates to partner with these companies, bring them into our network, and bring more visibility to the issue. To give you just a sampling of a few things that are going on in the Bay Area that we intend to partner TBAA. We have sustainable energy is a huge issue in the Bay Area. What's happened here is that utilities have increased the requirement for customers to use alternative energy, which has made those alternative energies more cost effective. So we expect that there to be more wind and solar generation. And as wind and solar generated power becomes more widespread and cost effective, there could be global influences, because obviously the cost of generating these powers has been a major problem. Green transportation, like I'm sure many of the other areas of the world, has been a big initiative here. Water conservation is a big issue in California, and they're using green and clean monitoring technologies to manage water use. Again, I think that one could have a global implication, and I could see that, working with other TBAA, with other affiliates of GTA could definitely shed some light on that one. Green buildings, like in other cities, I'm sure is a very important topic. One area in which the Bay Area's made quite a lot of progress is waste disposal. The idea is to separate green waste from regular waste so that you're not filling up the landfills. And in fact, San Francisco has achieved about 80% of its waste being recycled. Again, these kind of technologies could have a global impact. And finally, just to mention that one of the innovations here, and I think that, because of the tech economy that we have here, it could make a major influence going forward, is the waste to energy technologies. They're showing great promise in providing an alternative source of energy. There's funding for them here. There's companies working on them here. So TBAA will be working in all of these areas, both locally and with our other advocates globally. So thanks for stressing the importance of this topic to us, Russ, and back to you.
That's great, Ed. Thank you so much for that overview. Really, really helpful. Next up, I'm delighted to introduce Marie Garnier. Now, Marie is not a GTA group leader, but she is our Global Tech Advocates strategic partner. She's from HP, and HP has been a terrific supporter of Global Tech Advocates now for a number of years. And she's going to join us and tell us a little bit more about some of the project work that's being done at HP with a focus on sustainability. So Marie, good morning, over to you.
Good morning. It's a perfect segue after Ed kind of covering what's happening in the Bay Area and some of the great initiatives that we have here in California, and working for HP as we have a headquarters here in Palo Alto. I'm happy to say that in HP, we have been, very mindful about integrating some of the policies for the planet, the people, or even the communities, and that by 2025, we will reach carbon neutrality and zero waste in our operations, as well as 100% renewable electricity in global operations. So that's really encouraging to see that we have those initiatives around the planet, and that as a global partner, we also do our part. I thought that before I'm announcing some of the exciting new series that we have with Global Tech Advocates, I just wanted to share that if you didn't know, at HP, we have used 2.4 million ocean-borne plastics that have been used in products at HP since 2016. As a result, we have actually been able to launch 50 products that have integrated this ocean-borne plastic across our personal system portfolio, like the Elite Pro, the Z, the Chromebook Enterprise, and other products. The other part of why I'm also happy to be part of this discussion is that sustainability also for us contains a social agenda. We know that with everything that happened recently among the communities on the planet, unfortunately, digital inequity became a challenge. So we also integrate this topic as a part of our sustainability efforts. And we have a goal by 2030 to accelerate digital equity for 150 million people across the globe, as well as being a woman in the tech industry, achieving 50-50% of gender equality in the HP leadership. So all of that are the goals that we have by 2030. So a little bit of of some of the things that we've done, the things that we are aiming to achieve. But the reason why I think you wanted me here, Russ, is to talk about a new series of webcasts that are going to be sweet and short webcasts that we have with some of our leaders from Global Tech Advocate and London Tech Advocate. We are going to address the topics such as security, customer experience, compliance in the environment of banks, but we believe that it is something that's going to be also relevant for many other industries. And I'm very excited to say that if Gemma is listening to this, Gemma Waters from Lloyds Bank, she's the head of responsible transformation and corporate sustainability at Lloyds. She is going to be discussing with our own HP Ryan Kanzler on the topic of sustainability and how do you, in an industry like a bank, but again, I do believe there is an extension to so many other environments. How do you tackle those topics? How do you integrate some of those goals? How do you deliver on the social and community agenda and ensure that it's not only being running a business, but doing it the right way. So this episode is being finalized, and we will be very happy to share it via the Global Tech Advocate, London Tech Advocate, and all of the other wonderful networks we have with tech advocates.
Thank you for that, Marie. Great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the final product come out of that. Well done. Just before we leave the Americas, we do have apologies from our leaders from Tech Mexico advocates and Tech Peru advocates. And I believe that they're going to hopefully try and join us for our Global Tech Advocates Americas event that we're organizing towards the end of October. Right, we're going to say goodbye to the Americas. We're going to say hello to Europe. We've got quite a few leaders lined up from across Europe, and I'm delighted to start with Esther O'Callaghan, who leads Tech Netherlands Advocates, who also happens to be here with me at Here East. So Esther, lovely to see you here and lovely to see you in person today. Over to you.
Same. It's great to be here, finally. I found a wonderful sentence in Silicon Canals, and it said, "In all honesty, technology was invented with the sole purpose of providing a helping hand to the human species. But somewhere down the line, we became self-obsessed and lost the track of other important aspects like wildlife, environment, and much more." And I think the Netherlands is tackling this in a few ways, largely because it kind of has to. Quite a bit of the country is already below sea level. So sea levels rise. Although they do state that the Netherlands will be one of the last deltas to have to migrate, the fact that that's even in the thinking is what's driving a lot of the clean tech innovation that we're seeing. There's a few that I've mentioned before in previous panels. The Ocean Cleanup, obviously a flagship clean tech company based in Rotterdam, I think recognises that as much as we need new solutions, we're still going to have to clean up the current mess, which they're doing in rivers and oceans globally. Hyperloop, which you all know because you've heard me say it a million times, one of my favourites, because that's looking at the future of sustainable transport. To replace short-haul flights and beyond, which I really hope happens in my lifetime because I really want to go on one. At a more localised level, Blue City is the dedicated hub for circular economy incubator, recognising that not every solution can be huge, and macro. Sometimes, if we're all going to tackle climate change together, then you need to kind of have both happening at the same time. The most interesting things that have happened this year. We have the Global Centre on Adaptation, which is a Rotterdam NGO on a floating office, which Ban Ki-moon opened with a few other dignitaries. And that's looking at, I think there's almost an acceptance that if we look at the data, are we going to reduce atmospheric CO2 emissions by 50% by 2030? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but it kind of accepts that we're going to have to look at climate adaptation no matter, what we do. And I think the floating office is both fun and functional. The idea that we don't have to build things that will sink, we can build things that can float, I think is quite hopeful. Obviously, from my perspective, we're both a UK business and based in the Netherlands as Hundo, and we're looking, our sort of contribution to the GTA Tech for Net Zero is looking at how we can build an employment pathway for 16 to 24-year-olds who will face the worst of climate change and try to get them into the green, into the green, I can't even say it, I'll try again, into the green and clean sector, particularly those who wouldn't normally consider that as a career. So the final bit is in our sort of contribution to the GTA Tech for Net Zero. We're going to be putting a big focus on that from next month for Tech Netherlands Advocates with a very cool announcement, which I can't announce today, so you're going to have to wait till next month.
You're keeping us in suspense. That's
I know, I have to.
You've given me a little inkling of it already. It's a mega announcement. So everybody else, watch this space. Something great is coming very soon. Thank you, Esther. Right, we're going to move from Esther up to the Nordics. Hello, Jeanette. Very nice to see you. And take it away. Can you come off mute?
You can't hear me. You can't hear
Now
me.
we can.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Of course.
Hello, everybody. And I was about to say sunny Copenhagen, but the sun has literally just gone down, but it's been super sunny today. So hello, everybody. So I haven't got a lovely background, and I'm actually home, but I'm wearing the TNA t-shirt. Hopefully you can see that. And we are majorly busy because we've got a huge event coming up on Wednesday, as you know. But let me just talk just very briefly about tech for net zero in our part of the world. And I think, you know, us Vikings tend not to be too good at boasting, but I think on the green agenda, we probably should boast a little bit because we are probably quite well known around the world for our green credentials and kind of green, clean front runner position in a whole range of different areas. And I think, Russ, when you were asking us to talk about this, so rather than highlighting individual companies and so on, I think probably what's worth highlighting in terms of what's going on right now is a focus on ESG strategies, and in particular how companies, investors, startups even execute those ESG strategies. And that's becoming a really dominant theme over here. And I'm not talking Denmark now, I'm talking across the Nordics really, actually. Because as we all know, there's a lot of greenwashing going on, right? A bit like there's a lot of diversity washing and lots of annual reports with companies flagging their green credentials and their diversity credentials, but a lot of it is words, but perhaps with not as much action as we would like. So one of the key themes, and certainly something that we are going to be doing a lot about in the beginning of 2022, is around exactly that, is about executing your ESG strategy credibly. So the key word in that sentence is credibly, because we really want to try and bring out that this is about a lot more than talk. It actually needs to be actionable and actioned, and that's a theme that is becoming more and more dominant, you know, with startups, with corporates, and actually with investors who are increasingly measuring, investment targets by their ESG strategies and their green and clean and diversity, as you know, credentials as well, but also themselves actually being measured by those same metrics. That's a really important point. So I think I'd probably like to make that, you know, our theme for today is all about executing ESG strategies credibly. And as a lot of you know, we're running this huge, it's becoming an elephant, but it's all incredibly exciting program, Women in Tech International Program, which, we are launching the next stages of at Copenhagen Town Hall on Wednesday. And Russ, just as you're sitting next to Esther in London, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be sitting next to Esther in Copenhagen on Wednesday. How's that? Because Esther's traveling over for the event and has been a brilliant mentor on the program. So there you go.
That's great.
Yeah, exactly. And so just to round off, in terms of our diversity and inclusion women in tech growth program, the whole ESG and green, clean sustainability is also a massive big theme on that program. And I think the other big hook in the Nordics is, I think, as a takeaway, is how we are seeing ESG and green and clean and everything, pervasive across industry sectors. So on the Women in Tech program, we have, sustainable fashion. We have beauty stuff that's sustainable. We have health. We have, energy. We have fintech. We have a whole load of different tech innovators and solutions from a raft of industries, but all with sustainability and green and lean as a kind of common theme that runs through them. So I think I'll probably end with that, if that gives you a sense of what's going on. Yeah, and the sun is back out.
There you go. There you go. Go enjoy the sunshine. I know you have a very big event on Wednesday, and best of luck.
We have 200 people coming. There's a press release out today, and we're very excited. London Stock Exchange are travelling over. We're announcing our partnership with them at the town hall in Copenhagen on Wednesday as well. So there you go. Because there's no COVID here actually now. Face masks have all gone. So there you go.
Enjoy and good luck.
Fantastic.
Right,
Thanks
moving
all.
speedily along because we're fast going through all of this. I want to turn over to Andrew Roble, who is one of the co-leads for Tech Emerging Europe Advocates. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much, Russ. It's great to be here and joining this session with all the other GTA leads from, well, across the world. So as you probably know, and I mean, I'm talking about the audience because Russ does know that, Emerging Europe and Tech Emerging Europe Advocates covers as many as 25 countries. So there's quite a diversity that we're talking about here. And there's been a lot of different challenges within the region, such as, huge reliance on fossil fuels or, extreme pollution, house heating system being very old and so on and so on. But we also see it as an opportunity. And it's not only us, but also businesses and governments. And there's been, on the sort of government front, there's been a lot going on with transport, with pollution as well, with obviously emission targets and, with the help of IFIs and other key stakeholders. But there's also a lot happening, on the startup and scale up front. Those companies, those young companies are heavily focused on sustainable solutions right now. I mentioned several names in previous sessions that I participated. For example, Respect Energy or Pure Cloud from different countries within the region. But there's also a huge movement towards impact investment, and there's a lot of venture capital funds that are very active in that area. That said, I think it is really important to continue raising awareness about the need to find more sustainable solutions, but within the region, but also across the world about what is actually already happening in the region. And last week, Emerging Europe, which is the organization that runs Tech Emerging Europe Advocates within the region, had its flagship event where we again triggered discussion about the future of the planet within our region. And one of the key subjects that we discussed was sustainable lifestyle or green lifestyles. We talked about energy and transport and travel and food. And one of the interesting key takeaways from that session was that actually businesses within the region are leading the way in the whole process. We're going to continue that discussion during our second TEA event in late November. The first one was last year where we were launching Tech Emerging Europe Advocates. So one of the three key verticals that we're going to discuss will be obviously green tech. To sum up this short summary, I wanted to point to two different interesting facts, and just to show you that there's a lot happening on the ESG front. So, for example, the country of Uzbekistan recently released a report talking about, how ESG oriented the country is. So, that is quite a unique thing. The other thing is, and this is something that might be interesting for UK startups and scale-ups, there is an energy company in Ukraine, which is actually inviting startups and scale-ups from countries like the UK, which want to launch pilot projects in Ukraine. So you would think that there is a lot of companies from Central and Eastern Europe or from emerging Europe that are eager to look for funding in places like the UK, but in this case, it's the other way around. So, looking at this broad region, I think there's quite a few opportunities that are unfolding here.
Great.
Thank you very much, Russ.
Thank you,
Over
Andrew.
to you.
And thank you for your co-leadership of TEEA with Emiliano Ramos. Next up, we're going to move to Italy. And I'm delighted to introduce Anders Nielsen, who co-leads Tech Italy Advocates with Enrico Noceda. Anders, to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to sit here in Italy to share with you some of the trends, what's going on here in the space of the tech for net zero. I would like to highlight two trends in Italy. One is that there's the ambition now to become the leader in circular economy. And the major bank in Italy, Intesa, they launched 3 years ago a big initiative. And so far they invested in 145 projects and more than 1.3 billion euros. So we've seen a huge uptake also in the number of startups. And there's an international award in the startup area for circular economy. One is the Green Alley Award. And the latest round, out of 189 startups, 49 were actually from Italy. So that's more than a quarter. So that seems to, something is happening in Italy in this space. And one very interesting hot startup is on recycling is Riddle, and they put artificial intelligence at service for recycling and circular economy. So they have an idea how to recognize waste and automatically train this machine to recognize different materials and piece them up and then sort them effectively to have a perfect recycling afterwards. So this is one area. The other big area in Italy is on the energy and climate. And for the first time in the history of Italy, there is now a national plan for this. So things are going to happen. And we can already see some of the impact in this since the government just started to set up some funds and incentives. And part of this also to reduce energy consumption, of course. And some startups like Rice House, who's producing insulation material and plaster from waste material from rice production, for example. I've seen a huge uptake, and also a startup called Enerbrain, who have solutions how to better manage heating and ventilation systems. They've also seen a huge uptake, not only in Italy, but also in the export and how they could approach other markets outside Italy. And you can also see the urgency, not only with startups, but in general in the society in Italy right now, that even big projects, there is this huge transformation of some land in Italy called City Life. And there have been some high-rises planned there for some years. And the last one was supposed to start last week. And it started, but it was not a high-rise that was originally planned. They transformed that one, the designers, into two wave buildings that are going to be completely self-sustainable and actually going to have a positive impact on CO2. So they're going to reduce the consumption of energy by 45% and save 520 tons of CO2 per year. So I feel there's a lot of things happening, both on the innovation side, but also from what the private sector is doing to make good insights and inroads in this campaign. And I'm very happy to declare that Tech Italy Advocates, we will participate this week at the City Tech 21 event, where we will give the international perspective on urban development and mobility to help to promote ideas and examples of how tech can bring us closer to the zero net. So I'm very happy to be part of this global mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Anders. Great to hear all of that from you. Next up, let me introduce Teresa Martin, who co-leads Tech Spain Advocates with Silvia Elias. Teresa, over to you.
Hello, Russ, and thank you. Have you ever been to the Canaries?
Oh, I didn't realize you were asking me a question. Yes, I've been to the Canaries.
Good. And did you know that we have a volcano in full eruption for 24 hours
in La Palma.
now? Exactly, in La Palma Island in the Canaries. So while nature does its share to show its power, how are we responding? Let me highlight three major lines of work. First one is the PERTES, what we call the PERTES. That is an acronym for Strategic Projects for Recovery and Economic Transformation. And these are private and public consortia led by large corporates who are leading the way for innovation with significant impact on the environment. Those are supported by the Next Generation EU funds that I told you about back in June. And these consortia aim at developing sustainable long-term transformation of the economy in Spain. A couple of examples for you. One is the electric vehicle hub, which is led by Volkswagen, SEAT, and Iberdrola, major utilities in Spain, and surrounded by a myriad of small and medium-sized companies. And this aims at developing electric vehicle hubs and batteries. And another example would be the Agri-Food Consortium in Navarre, promoted by Ebro Food Valley. So this is one of the three highlights I wanted to give you. The second one is CSG, following up with something that another colleague mentioned before, environmental, social, and governance. Assessment of ESG and reporting of ESG are becoming compulsory for more and more companies. And besides what Janet just said about investors taking into consideration the ESG criteria of the companies they invest in, ESG also makes a difference, and it has been proven in Spain, that it does make a difference in attracting the scarcest and most precious resource, which is not money, but talent. And the third line of work that I wanted to highlight was clean, sustainable energy. You may or may not know that the price of energy has risen, over tripled, and reached the highest in history over the past year, from 2020 to 2021. This is really, really very challenging in Spain. The most urgent challenge for the Spanish economy is related to energy generation and distribution at a reasonable price. So prosumers, which is a mixture of producers and consumers, spread throughout all the provinces, as do solar farms, eolic energy plants, and other installations. I think there is a large opportunity for tech startups and companies to help companies and consumers make better use of energy, and those tech startups are thriving. This is an excellent time to come to Spain and do business in this area of energy. So to end up with my brief speech, Russ, and then back to you, we at Tech Spain Advocates aim at connecting the ecosystem and stop looking at the volcanoes and start acting. Thank you, Russ, and everybody.
Very good. Thank you, Teresa. That's great. Thank you for that update. Right, we're going to move from Spain to France. And let me bring on Valentin Pellissier, who co-leads Tech France Advocates. Valentin, over to you.
Hi, Russ. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Well, I wanted to share with you the fact that France is really up for the Tech for Net Zero challenge. We have, all the ingredients. We have talent and world-class universities. We have world-class research and big innovative companies like Dassault Systèmes, which was mentioned earlier by our Chinese colleague. And we have a thriving ecosystem, which I'd like to share a little overview with you. We're talking here about 700 startups and scale-ups that are employing around 20,000 people and which have raised 4.4 billion euros since their creation. We're talking about some companies you may know that have raised more than 100 million euros, like BlaBlaCar, the mobility company that has helped saved up to 1.6 million tons of CO2 since it was created. These companies are in different sectors, but the key sectors that I want to highlight on are energy, with specifically very interesting and promising things going on with hydrogen and the production of hydrogen. And of course, agri-tech with companies like Insect, which is exploring the mass production of insect as a way of a new way of food. And I'm happy to share the news that Xavier Niel, the big entrepreneur, has launched a very unique agri-tech school, the first one of its kind, called Hectare. He also created the coding school you may know, École 42, a few years ago, which is entirely free. It's going to be the same thing here, so it's good to also see that these kind of institutions are going to be accessible. We have then mobility with BlaBlaCar, which I mentioned earlier, and circular economy with Back Market and Vestiaire Collective, as well as Phoenix, which fights against food waste. We have government support and strong political will. As a reminder, France has committed to a 75% reduction of its carbon emissions by 2050. And the government has launched labels such as the Green Tech Innovation and its 216 companies, or the Green Fin France to promote investment in green investment, if I could say. There is fund being raised on the Tech for Net Zero. We have funds like 2050 or Founders Future, but it is true that we could do more. That is not enough. We at Tech France have noticed that out of the next 40, which is the big index for big French tech companies, only 5 for now have actually a Tech for Net Zero product or service. So we have to do more, and we'll need more spin-offs from research. I was mentioning that we have all the key ingredients, massive and world-class research centers, but more should be done in transforming it into concrete products. And so what I wanted to share with you to end my speech here is to say that here at Tech France Advocates, we will really want to share stories, concrete stories of startups that are making the world a better place with inspiring stories. And we'll kind of structure it around a concept of fair tech. Fair tech meaning companies that want to have a positive impact on this world, reducing pollution, but also increasing, social impact, happiness at work, and so on. And we'll make sure to avoid any greenwashing, which was mentioned earlier. No bullshit, but really sharing very inspiring stories of how tech is actually making this world a little better. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Valentin. Thank you for that update. Great to see you. Right, before we leave the European continent, the last speaker I want to bring in for this session is Matthias Engel. Matthias has agreed to set up a Tech Berlin Advocates Group, which is likely to launch in 2022. So Matthias, over to you.
Thanks, Ross, and great being here. Everyone, hello from Berlin. Yes, as Ross mentioned, we're planning setting up Tech Berlin Advocates in 2022, and hopefully we can then launch fairly soon. Lots is happening in Germany, obviously. I think government has set very strict targets in carbon emission, and I think I'd like to give an update from a number of perspectives what's happening over here. I think from the corporate side, I think corporates have understood the importance. I think the time for greenwashing is finally over, and lots of funds are being dedicated and employed for climate change efforts. Also, given Germany's industrial base, that's a very important topic, obviously. And so also the government has figured that out and setting up a multi-billion fund in hydrogen to come closer to the targets. Number two, from an investor's perspective, I do see investors shifting more and more funds over to ESG-related investments, but also a number of funds being set up as we speak here in Germany, but also across Europe. And I think that's also something that came across from other speakers. It is not a local topic. Obviously, climate change is a global topic, and that's why any initiative I see in terms of new funds popping up over here, even though they might be located here, they will do invest across Europe. Number three, in terms of startups and initiatives, well, in terms of funding, especially in Berlin or Germany, most of the funds for startups actually go to fintechs these days. I think number two is software, then comes mobility in the broader scheme. So I think there could be more actually flowing into net zero tech, but I think that actually the pipeline of really interesting startups is just to emerge. I do see very many young companies, very many young founders straight coming from universities, setting up their businesses in green tech. So my hope is that we'll see a big funnel of companies that are very young today, but are maturing and then hence become really also interesting for investors that invest later stage. Finally, government. You might know that in Germany, election is coming up next Sunday. It will be definitely a change. It will be a different government after 16 years, after all, I believe. It's fair to say and assume that the Green Party will play some form of role and shape in the new government. And that will certainly give another push to the topic of net zero, I'm absolutely sure. Also, implementing new policies to be quicker setting up renewable energy, but also setting up policies that will allow young companies to actually grow into the new business models. So, as I said, I think watch out. Next Sunday, election is coming up. I think I will give it another push to net zero. But after all, I think it is not something that we can solve in Germany, but also we have to do it together across the globe. And with that, back to you, Russ. Thanks.
Thank you, Matthias. That's great. Really good to hear that and interesting observations on the upcoming election.
Thank you, Russ. I am delighted to join everyone today to represent Tech Belfast Advocates. I'm from Belfast and I live and work in London. and I'm Sales Director for Canadian GHG SAT, leading on ESG and special finance. And very happy to share some insights from the Tech Belfast Advocates Network. As more companies focus on the global goal of net zero emissions by 2050 and try to embed ESG strategies into their business models, we're seeing radical innovation and the development of disruptive technologies moving to the forefront of sustainable value creation for stakeholders, investors, consumers, and of course, the planet. And if you look at both Belfast and Dublin, and indeed across the island of Ireland, and you add Ireland's commitment to net zero by 2050, which aligns with the EU's climate action plan and ambitious Green Deal, to the commitment of the UK, then I believe that we collectively have a region that is well positioned to take a leading role in the global sustainable technology sector. And so as businesses and governments report against net zero targets, greenwashing becomes an increasing problem. And so we see the development of a new global greenwashing detection industry, and it's developing fast, with opportunities in testing and scaling data and analytics, innovations in green AI and green data science, evidence-based sustainable investing, and the development of anti-greenwashing identification tools for investors. And so with well-established data analytics and technology clusters, we believe that a collaborative approach between the UK and Ireland could secure thousands of new jobs and significant investment for the high growth tech companies that typically thrive here. And so as a constituent part of the UK and a key partner to the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland is set to play a leading role in future sustainability initiatives. Thanks, Russ, and back to you.
Thank you for that, Karina. I can see Naomi. So Naomi, shall we have you jump in now?
Just a really quick update. I am actually currently in London for London Tech Week, which first day was amazing. But just a little bit of an update from what's going on in Manchester. Let me just remind you all that Manchester led the first industrial revolution and has ambitions of doing things first. But what I will say is that learning from others and best practices will get cities to net zero faster. Okay, that's the first thing I wanted to say. Also, what we've also seen in Manchester, and I'm talking about Manchester specifically because that's where I live, but obviously Tech North Advocates represents the North. But Manchester has ambitions to be net zero by 2038. We have several companies around this space, and I'm going to specifically talk very briefly about a few of them, which are very energy focused. Octopus Energy, they have their Manchester have their delivery team, and they are 100% renewable energy. We also have an incredible organisation called Urban Chain, which is led by an amazing woman called Samaya Taheri, who is an academic and entrepreneur. And she has a net zero energy concept, which is using blockchain and AI based. It's an energy exchange system. So really going directly to where the energy is produced and making it cheaper for companies, but also individuals to get energy, but doing it in a way that is 100% net zero. Also, another really incredible company called Republic of Things that I've had the great pleasure of working with. They do a lot of stuff in the housing association sector. It's an IoT company that was born out of the CityVerve Cisco program that was in Manchester a couple of years ago. And it's actually the only surviving organisation from that program. And what they do is they work with housing associations and put in sensors and measure things like humidity, energy, and several other things, which really is helping housing associations manage their assets, but also supporting the people that live in the properties. And then that's pretty much it. What I would like to say really quickly is one of the reasons I'm down in London today is because next year we're going to be having a Manchester Tech Week, which is very, very exciting. But that's my update, Russ. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for that, Naomi. I'm looking forward to Manchester Tech Week, where we can talk more about Tech for Net Zero next year. Right. The last of our GTA leaders, before we go to two of our working group leads, has been waiting patiently, as we like to say, north of the border. I'd like to introduce Gary Bernstein, who leads Tech Scotland Advocates. He's also going to be one of the people in the spotlight for COP26 in November. So Gary, great to see you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Russ, and hello from Glasgow, everyone. Wonderful to be part of this event today and hear just what's happening, the finger on the pulse of what's happening with climate tech and sustainable tech in the other hubs all around the world. Really, really exciting. I'm just going to say a few words. I'll keep it short because I know we're a little bit behind time. Just about how the city's getting ready for COP and how this is going to be a different COP, a COP like no other, because the UK has been busy with diplomatic efforts throughout the pandemic and has managed to move the combined climate commitments from advanced nations from 30% to 70% of the Paris Accord targets. So uniquely, I think the world leaders that are coming to Glasgow are going to be spending most of their time looking for ways to turn those targets into real emissions reductions. What are they going to buy? What are they going to build? And who are they going to partner with to deliver on their pledges to their local audience and their global audience? And of course, Glasgow and the UK are going to be great hosts. That's what we do. We've got a global reputation for that. But there's also a special opportunity for the UK to be a great example by sharing our own experience on staying ahead in our own race to zero. So in Scotland, that's kind of translated by doing a few different things. We've, as an example of that, we've just established the Scottish National Investment Bank with £2 billion worth of government-backed funding. And this is going to be co-invested with the private sector in opportunities and technologies that will drive Scotland's transition to net zero by 2045. Now, the bank's already started building its portfolio, its net zero portfolio, with investments in companies like 4EV, that's a rapid vehicle charging platform, and Nova Innovation, which is a tidal energy technology solutions company. And the Scotland advocate community is very, very active in clean tech and renewable tech space too, because we're home to all three of the world's floating wind farm proof of concepts at scale. This is where it's happening. We're showing the world how to do this sort of thing. And our Net Zero Technology Centre in Aberdeen is one of 8 government-backed innovation centres. And it operates a grant-funded accelerator programme for global entrepreneurs who are focused on delivering solutions that are going to decarbonise our energy sector. And part of that programme, part of that accelerator programme, is giving those entrepreneurs access to the engineering innovation, expertise, and the 100,000 people that are employed in the UK's offshore oil and gas industry. So there's a huge amount of work going on in the tech zero space in Scotland that we're really, really excited to share with delegates at COP when it comes along. Now, my own company, Technology Leaders, is partnering, really excited to partner with Sainsbury's, a principal partner for COP26, the Glasgow Science Centre, and the young people at LGBT Youth Scotland. And we're going to co-present a programme showcasing the UK's leadership expertise in net zero technologies live from the Green Zone at COP26. We're really, really thrilled to be part of, the formal programme. And part of that programme is going to explore the role diversity has played in creating and bringing to market some of the UK's net zero innovation. Now, if you, wherever you're watching this, can't make it to COP26 in person, you can join our broadcasts at roadtoglasgow.com. That's roadtoglasgow.com. And also, if you're going to be in town, if you're planning to be in town and enjoying the Jamboree, please drop us a line at COP26@techscotlandadvocates.com, because we'd love to connect with you and introduce you to some of the wider network here. I'm very, very excited to welcome some of you who are watching today to Glasgow for what's going to be a fabulous COP26. Back to you, Russ.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for that overview. Very exciting times coming your way. And to all of the advocates watching, do get in touch with Gary if you plan to be in Glasgow for COP26. Right, we've come to the last section. We've got 2 more leaders. We do have a small number of working groups across Global Tech Advocates. We have an existing data tech group, and we're going to make an announcement about a quantum group. So first up, let me introduce Nazda Radev, who leads the GTA Data Tech Working Group. Naz, over to you.
Thank you, Russ. And I'll try and keep this brief. Hi, everyone. I'm Naz. I'm also the CEO of Lambda, which is an international data consultancy, and co-lead at the GTA Data Tech Group. And data technology is, of course, incredibly important in analyzing and understanding our progress towards net zero and discovering better ways of getting there. And over the last year, we transitioned the Tech London Advocates Data Tech Group into a more global community called the GTA Data Tech. And Slack's been phenomenal for us. We utilize Slack as our main communication channel, and it is proving to be a great channel for kind of having data leaders, experts, enthusiasts, and all sorts of other people involved in data and data-driven decision making all over the world, and it enables them to share knowledge and practices. Often we debate crucial topics such as the topic we're discussing today of net zero, and really it's using data analytics and AI to help us all towards net zero. It's such a dynamic area and such a growing area that the value of sharing approaches from around the world is just tremendous. And of course, we all have different ways of monitoring and influencing carbon footprint. But for example, one of the debates has given birth to a new consideration, a new kind of key issue that we see in this field, which is that many data leaders around the world are really find detailed data about carbon footprint. And through discussion group, we have started to look at how different players in this field have started to establish ways to gather more data, to catalog that, to make it available to their organizations, and even to government. And this is so important because you can have all the analytics and AI in the world, but if the data is not really there, we're all severely limited in our ability to understand it and use it. So if I can leave you with one key takeaway, do spare a moment to think about where does the data come from and can you help collect more data? It's all about data these days. So do keep that in mind. And last, I just wanted to mention that we are looking for more members to join us. We're very active on Slack, but organizing various events, including virtual meetups. So our website is gtadatatech.org. So if you're interested in joining, please check us out. Hopefully that was short and sweet. Thank you very much, Russ.
Thank you for that, Naz. Thank you for being short and sweet. Very much appreciated, and all the help that you do provide to all of us through the GTA Data Tech Group. Right, last but certainly not least, I'm delighted to introduce Kate Marshall. Kate and I have been talking over the past few months about setting up a GTA quantum group, which she is eager to lead and take forward. So Kate, over to you to talk a little bit about GTA Quantum and Tech for Net Zero.
Thank you, Russ. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, I'll also keep this short and sweet. Hello, everyone. My name is Kate, and I'm very pleased to be speaking with you on behalf of London Tech Advocates, with which, as Russ has just mentioned, we're very excited to be announcing the launch of a GTA Quantum Working Group. So I work at IBM, it's both a quantum ambassador and a Qiskit advocate, and I'll explain in a second what Qiskit is, because that might be a word that's new to some of you. And I'm very excited to be supporting Ross alongside my colleague Stephen Dundee of Lakestar in helping to establish this community. So the motivation behind the working group will be to initially promote the understanding of this complicated and often misunderstood technology, as well as bring together industry experts and enthusiasts to encourage active learning and valuable discourse around quantum technologies. The team will also act as a safe space and reference point for the other GTA working groups that are seeking to learn more about quantum computation, the current state of research in quantum, and also the expected industry-to-industry impact of this technology. And we're even hoping to get our members working hands-on with some of the freely available open source software development kits and tools that allow us to interact and program quantum computers via the cloud. That might sound ambitious, but you heard me mention earlier something called Qiskit. This is one that I work with in particular, but this is just one of many open source software development kits that are available for our users to freely interact with quantum computers from the comfort of their own home via the cloud. So really exciting stuff to come. And we're hoping that the role of the community will also continue to evolve as we grow and we move towards what's known as an era of quantum advantage, which is when we expect quantum computer capability to be exceeding that of what is classically capable today. So yeah, really excited to see where this goes and more information to come. But it was really great to listen to all the updates from across the world today. So thank you all for joining and for listening to this as well.
That's great. Thank you for that, Kate. Really looking forward to getting the GTA Quantum Group up and running under your leadership, along with Stephen Dundee from Lakestar. Wow, that brings us to the close of our GTA Tech for Net Zero London Tech Week showcase. I hope you've kept up with us whilst we've done our world tour, and we've seriously done a very significant world tour, but hopefully it also gives you a sense of the grassroots that makes up the Global Tech Advocates organization. We've traveled across 5 continents in, well, just over 90 minutes now, and hopefully you've gained some great insights on the global movement for Tech for Net Zero. Again, my thanks to Nicole Sahin and all of our speakers today. And London Tech Week is only just getting started. It's day 1. Tomorrow is Climate Tech 2021, which will develop many of the themes and the issues that we've discussed during our call today. Don't forget to sign up for the other Tech London Advocates events that are taking place this week. And thank you very much to all of you, and hope to see you at another London Tech Week event during the week.